My father became a millionaire while I was in Afghanistan. When I came home and saw the house, the cars, the business headquarters with his name on the building, I had one question. Where did the money come from? He said savings, smart investments, some deals that worked out while I was gone. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But the timing was too perfect. His success started exactly 3 months after my unit deployed to Helmand Province. And when I found the ledger in his office, I realized the money wasn't just from the war. It was from the exact villages where we'd operated. The exact villages where things had gone wrong. The flight back to Sacramento felt longer than the deployment itself. 11 months in Helmand, and now 23 hours of airports and cramped seats and stale air. My fiancée Sarah met me at the gate. She'd been sending care packages, letters every week, countdown texts for the last 30 days. She hugged me so hard I felt my ribs compress. "You're here. You're actually here." Her voice cracked. "I'm here." We drove to my father's house, except it wasn't the house I remembered. The bungalow in East Sacramento where I'd grown up was gone. In its place, or rather in a different place entirely, was a sprawling ranch-style home in Granite Bay. 3 acres, a circular driveway, a fountain for crying out loud. "When did he move?" I asked Sarah. "About 6 months ago. You didn't know?" "He mentioned he was upgrading. I didn't think he meant this." Sarah pulled through the gate, an actual gate with an intercom system. "There's more you should probably know before we go in." "More?" "He's started a business, import-export. It's doing really well, Jake. Like, really well." The front door opened before we reached it. My father stepped out, older than I remembered, but somehow more vital. New glasses, better posture, expensive watch catching the afternoon sun. "Jake!" He pulled me into a hug. "Welcome home, son." "Dad, this place is a lot to take in, I know. Come on, your mother's making your favorite. We've got time to talk about everything." Dinner was pot roast, mashed potatoes, the works. My mother kept getting up to bring me more food, touching my shoulder every time she passed. My younger sister Emma was in her 2nd year at Berkeley. "Dad's money," she explained. "Full ride at a private school now." "So," I said, setting down my fork, "import-export." My father smiled. "Started small. Textiles mostly, some crafts. Things people want but can't easily get here. Found the right suppliers, the right buyers. One thing led to another." "Where are the suppliers?" "All over. Pakistan mostly. Some Afghanistan, UAE. He took a sip of wine. "Good people, hard workers. The kind of business relationships that benefit everyone." "Afghanistan." I kept my voice level. "You're doing business in Afghanistan?" "Among other places. The country needs commerce, Jake. Needs connection to the world. You know that better than anyone." Sarah touched my hand under the table. A warning. Don't push, not tonight. But I couldn't let it go. "When did this start?" "About a year ago. Why?" "Just curious. That's around when I deployed." My father's expression didn't change. "Coincidence. I'd been planning it for a while. Your deployment actually made it harder. Worried about you constantly. But the business needed attention, so I focused on that. Kept me sane." The explanation was smooth, reasonable. Everything about his demeanor said he was telling the truth. So why did my stomach feel like I swallowed glass? I moved back into my old apartment. Sarah's place was too small for both of us until the wedding. We'd set a date for 6 months out. She had a binder full of plans, a Pinterest board, a checklist that made mission prep look simple. But I couldn't focus on flowers and seating charts. I kept thinking about my father's business, about the timing, about Helmand Province and everything that happened there. In November, 5 months into our deployment, we'd been running a patrol through a village called Marja. Intelligence said the area was clear, but intelligence was wrong half the time. We moved building to building, checking corners, watching windows. The IED blew up near the market square. Rodriguez took shrapnel in his legs. The blast wave threw me against a wall hard enough to crack my helmet. When the dust cleared, we had 2 wounded Marines and a scene that would show up in my dreams for the next 10 years. 4 civilians didn't make it. A shopkeeper, 2 teenagers, a woman who'd been buying bread. We'd followed protocol, done everything right. The device wasn't meant for us, some Taliban remnant from an old cache. Wrong place, wrong time. The investigation cleared us, but cleared didn't mean clean. 2 weeks later, another incident. This one during a night raid on a compound where HVTs were supposedly hiding. They weren't, just a family. An old man who looked threatening in thermal imaging but was actually reaching for his cane. Our point man fired. Split-second decision, by-the-book response to perceived threat. One more civilian who didn't go home. Again, we were cleared. Again, it didn't matter. The guilt sat in your chest like a stone. You carried it. You didn't talk about it. You definitely didn't think your father was somehow profiting from it. Except, I couldn't shake the feeling. Before I tell you what I found in that envelope, if you're hooked on this story, hit that like button and subscribe. There are dozens more voices like mine here. And drop a comment with your country. I'm curious where all of you are listening from. 3 weeks after coming home, I visited my father's office. He'd invited me, actually, wanted to show me what he'd built. The building was in Roseville, modern glass and steel, with Mitchell Trade Solutions in brushed metal letters above the entrance. 15 employees, Dad said, walking me through. Started with 3. Now we're handling shipments worth 6 figures monthly. Next year, I'm projecting 7. The office space was open plan, lots of natural light, employees who looked busy and happy. My father introduced me as my son, just back from Afghanistan, the real hero. People shook my hand, thanked me for my service, normal stuff. But I was watching everything. The computers, the file cabinets, the locked door at the back that Dad walked past without mentioning. "What's in there?" I asked. "Storage, files mostly, boring stuff." "Can I see?" He paused, just a fraction of a second. "Sure, nothing exciting, but sure." He unlocked it, and inside were filing cabinets, shelves of binders, exactly what he'd said, boring stuff. But on the desk in the corner was an open ledger, and before my father could casually close it, I saw one of the entries. Marja District, Helmand Province, $15,000. "What's that?" I pointed. Dad closed the ledger. "Shipping costs. Different regions have different rates. It's complicated." "Why's Marja in there?" "We have suppliers there, small craftspeople. It's a whole network, Jake. I've explained this." "Craftspeople in Marja?" "Dad, that area was hostile the entire time we were there. Nobody was making crafts. They were trying not to get caught in the crossfire." His expression hardened, just slightly. "Things change. The war's winding down. People are rebuilding. You've been back 3 weeks. You don't know what it's like there now." He was right. I didn't. But I knew what Marja was like when I left, and I knew the date on that ledger entry, 2 months after the IED incident. I tried to let it go. I tried to focus on the wedding, on Sarah, on building a life that wasn't about suspicion and patrol routes and checking corners. But the questions kept growing. Why did Dad's business boom right after my deployment? Why were the regions in his ledger the same ones where my unit operated? What was he really importing? Sarah noticed me pulling away. "You're not here," she said one night. "Even when you're sitting next to me, you're somewhere else." "I'm sorry." "Is it Afghanistan? Because if you need to talk to someone, it's not Afghanistan." "Then what?" I almost told her, almost explained about the ledger, the timing, the sick feeling that my father was somehow connected to everything that went wrong over there. But how do you explain suspecting your own father without sounding paranoid, without sounding like the deployment had broken something in you? "Just adjusting. I'll be okay." She didn't believe me. I didn't believe me. I started researching. Late nights when Sarah thought I was job hunting or planning wedding stuff. I dug into import-export regulations, searched for Mitchell Trade Solutions in business databases, tried to find shipping records. What I found was a company that looked completely legitimate. Proper licensing, clean inspections, customer testimonials. My father had built something real. But the regions bothered me. Every supplier location in his records matched places where coalition forces had operated, places where incidents had happened. I made a list. Marja District, IED incident November 2011. Sangin Valley, checkpoint shooting January 2012. Kajaki area, airstrike with civilian casualties, March 2012. different unit but close to RAO. For each location, my father had entries in his ledger within weeks of the incidents, payments ranging from $10,000 to $30,000. It could still be coincidence. Afghanistan's a war zone. Incidents happen everywhere. Maybe he really was buying crafts or textiles from those areas. But $30,000 for crafts from a village that had just been hit by an airstrike? I needed to see more of those files. Now here's where everything changed. But real quick, if you're invested in how this ends, I genuinely appreciate a subscription. More soldier stories drop daily. Comment your country below. Always amazes me how far these reach. The office had security, but I still had my father's spare key from when he first moved in. He'd given it to me in case of emergency. This qualified, in a way. I went on a Saturday night after dinner at my parents' house. Made an excuse about meeting up with guys from my unit. Drove to Roseville instead. The building was empty. Security light in the parking lot. Motion sensors in the lobby. But no cameras in the back office. My father had mentioned that. Something about trusting his employees. The storage room door was locked, but I'd watched where he kept the key. Magnetic box under the desk drawer. Paranoid habits from the Marines make you notice these things. Inside, I went straight for the filing cabinets. The first drawer was shipping manifests, invoices, normal business documentation. The second drawer was more of the same. The third drawer was labeled Special Accounts. I pulled out the first file. Marja District, November 2011. But it wasn't an invoice. It was a letter, handwritten, in English but clearly translated. The grammar was rough, but the meaning was clear. To Mr. Mitchell, your son was not responsible. We understand this, but our loss remains. Your help means our children can eat. May God bless your family for what you have done. Attached was a receipt, $15,000, marked Family Assistance, Market Incident. My hands started shaking. I pulled another file. Sangin Valley, January 2012. Another letter, another receipt, this one for $20,000. Checkpoint Incident, Family Support. Another file, another letter, another payment. Every incident, every civilian casualty from my deployment, my father had tracked them down, had sent money, thousands of dollars to families in Helmand Province, families whose lives were destroyed by accidents, by wrong decisions, by the grinding chaos of a war that didn't care who got caught in it. I sat on the floor, the files spread around me, my father's handwriting on notes clipped to letters. Confirmed, 3 children lost father. Widow, no other family. Medical expenses, son lost leg. He'd been tracking casualties, researching families, sending money. The business was real, I'd verified that, but the profits weren't for us. They were going back. Every dollar he made, he sent to Afghanistan, to the villages, to the families, to people whose lives my unit had accidentally destroyed. The locked door opened. My father stood there, not angry, just tired. "Found it," he said quietly. I couldn't speak. He came in, sat against the wall across from me. For a long time, neither of us said anything. "When did you start?" I finally managed. "After your first letter, the one where you told me about Marja. You didn't say what happened, but I could hear it in your words. That weight. I've heard it before. Your grandfather, after Vietnam, carried it till he passed." "So you what? Started a business to send them money?" "Started a business to make money legally. Can't just wire cash to Afghanistan. Gets flagged, frozen. But business transactions, regular commerce, that flows through. I found people in Pakistan who work with villages across the border. They help me find the families, verify identities, get the money where it needs to go." "This is insane." "This is necessary." His voice was firm. "You followed your orders, you did your job, but those families still lost people, still lost futures. The military won't help them, not really. Some compensation, maybe, if they're lucky, after years of paperwork. I couldn't sit here in Sacramento, getting richer while you risked your life, knowing that people over there were suffering because of accidents your unit was involved in." "It wasn't your responsibility." You're my son. That makes it my responsibility. I looked at the files scattered around me. How much have you sent? About $400,000 over 18 months. The number hit like incoming fire. Jesus, Dad, that's... Yes, everything I've made. The house is mortgaged, the cars are leased, Emma's school is financed. All the profit goes to the families. Every month I find more of them. Some from your unit's incidents, some from other units in the same areas. I've expanded. Does Mom know? She knows I'm helping people in Afghanistan. Doesn't need the details. I tried to process it. My father, who'd never been particularly political, who'd supported my decision to join the Marines but didn't talk about the war much, had spent 18 months and $400,000 trying to fix what we'd broken. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have tried to stop me, would have said it wasn't my fault, wasn't my problem. You're too much like me, Jake, too practical. But some things aren't about logic, they're about what lets you sleep at night. And this lets you sleep? Better than doing nothing. I need to tell you what happened next, but first, if this story's got you, show some love with a like and subscribe. I read every comment, especially love seeing where you're all from around the world. I didn't know what to do with the information. Didn't know if I was angry or grateful or completely lost. I told Sarah. She deserved to know why I'd been so distant. We sat in her apartment and I explained everything. The incidents, the guilt, my father's business, the files. So he's sending money to the families, she said slowly, to help them. Yes. And you're upset about this? I don't know what I am about this. She was quiet for a moment. Jake, when you came home, you said the hardest part wasn't the combat. It was the accidents, the people who got caught in the wrong place. You said you wished there was something you could do. There isn't. But your father found something. Maybe it's weird, maybe it's not how normal people would handle it, but he found a way to help. It's my guilt, Sarah, not his. Guilt doesn't work like that. It spreads. You carry yours, and the people who love you carry some too. Your father just found a way to carry his that actually helps someone. She had a point, but accepting it meant accepting that my father had been living a double life for 18 months, that he'd built this elaborate system to clean blood off his hands, hands that were only dirty because of me. Over the next week, I started helping. My father didn't ask, but I showed up at the office and he didn't turn me away. I reviewed files, helped verify families, learned the network of contacts he'd built. There was Hamid in Peshawar, who worked with NGOs across the border, Fatima in Kabul, who coordinated with village elders, a whole web of people who helped get money to families the US government had forgotten. How do you verify them? I asked. How do you know the money actually reaches the families? Photos, receipts, sometimes video calls. It's not perfect. Some probably get skimmed by middlemen, but most gets through. I've gotten letters back, thank you notes, pictures of kids in school who couldn't afford it before. He showed me a folder of these, children smiling, holding notebooks, a widow standing in front of a small shop she'd been able to start, a young man with a prosthetic leg outside a workshop where he'd learned welding. This boy lost his father in the Marge incident, your incident. Now he's supporting his mother and 3 sisters. He sent a letter last month, wants to name his first son after me. I stared at the photo. The kid couldn't be older than 16. Should have been in high school, worrying about grades and girls. Instead, he was the man of his family because an IED meant for Marines hit civilians instead. Does this make it better? I asked. Does money fix it? No, but it's better than doing nothing. And Jake, I've been talking to some of the other families, not about your unit specifically, but I've heard things. What things? A lot of these people don't blame the soldiers. They blame the war, the Taliban, the politics. They know most of you were trying to do the right thing. The money isn't about guilt or blame. It's about survival, about giving them a chance to rebuild. I wanted that to make me feel better. It didn't, but maybe it wasn't supposed to. Sarah and I got married in June. Simple ceremony, family, and a few friends. My father paid for most of it, or rather, didn't pay for it from his business, paid for it separately, which meant he was taking on more debt. Dad, you don't have to. I want to. This is your wedding. The other stuff is important, but so is this. At the reception, giving his toast, he got emotional, talked about being proud of me, about hoping I'd find the kind of peace he'd found in his work, about family being the thing that matters most. Nobody else in the room knew what he really meant, but I did. 4 months after I found out, I got a call from Rodriguez. He'd been medically retired after Marja, settled back in Texas, was working construction despite the limp. Hey man, weird question. Did your dad start some kind of charity or something? My stomach tightened. Why? I got a letter from Afghanistan, from the family of one of the guys who didn't make it in that market. They said an American businessman had helped them, mentioned you by name, wanted me to know they don't hold it against us, that they understand. Rodriguez. I'm not asking for details. I just needed you to know someone told them what happened, told them the truth, and they wrote back to say they don't hate us. I've been carrying that for 3 years, Jake. Every day thinking those families must want us gone, must hate every American because of what we did. His voice cracked. But they don't. They just want to live. And someone helped them do that. So if your dad's involved somehow, tell him thank you, from me. Tell him it matters. I hung up and went to find my father. He was in his office, late as always, reviewing invoices. Rodriguez called, I said. Dad looked up. The Marine from Marja? Yeah, he got a letter from one of the families. I didn't tell them to contact anyone. That wasn't supposed to. It's okay, Dad. It helped him. More than you know. My father leaned back in his chair. He looked older in that moment, exhausted, like the weight he'd been carrying was finally visible. I need to show you something, he said. He pulled out a different file, thicker than the others. Inside were letters, dozens of them, from families in Afghanistan, most in rough English, some translated. Thank you notes, updates on children, pictures, stories of small businesses started, medical care received, schools attended. And at the back, a separate section, letters from other Marines, guys from different units who'd somehow heard about what my father was doing, guys who wanted to contribute, who sent him money to add to the payments. It started with just me, Dad said. Now there are 11 other families involved, parents of Marines mostly, some veterans themselves. We've created a network. Nothing official, can't be, the legal stuff would kill it. But we move money, we help families, we do what we can. You've built an underground veteran aid network. I've built what should exist, but doesn't. The government won't do this, can't really, even if they wanted to. Too much politics, too much liability. So we do it ourselves, quietly. I sat down. Dad, if this gets out, it won't. And if it does, I'll handle it. But Jake, these families need help. They got caught in our war. The least we can do is make sure they can survive it. The wedding money, I realized, had come from somewhere else. Dad had taken a loan specifically for it, had made sure not to use any business funds, because those funds were spoken for. I started contributing, half my disability check every month. Sarah knew, approved. We didn't need much, and it felt right. Felt like something I could actually do instead of just carrying the weight. Over the next year, my father's network grew. More families got involved. More Marines heard about it through quiet channels. The money flowing to Afghanistan increased. Families were helped. Lives were changed. But the cost was real. My father's health started declining. The stress of managing it all, of maintaining the business, of keeping everything secret. He had a mild heart attack in November, refused to slow down. This is too important. These families are counting on us. And we're counting on you being alive. You can't help anyone if you're gone. But he wouldn't listen. As soon as he was cleared, he was back at it, finding more families, sending more money, building more connections. The business started struggling. Competition moved in. Profit margins tightened. Dad was so focused on the aid work that he missed opportunities to adapt.
Revenue dropped. But the payments to Afghanistan didn't stop. If anything, they increased. He took out more loans, mortgaged everything he could, kept the money flowing. "Dad, you're going to lose everything." "I don't care about everything. I care about this." 2 years after I found out, the business collapsed. Market changes he hadn't anticipated, debt he couldn't service. Mitchell Trade Solutions filed for bankruptcy. The house went, the cars went. My parents moved into a small apartment in Sacramento. Emma had to transfer to a state school. But until the very end, the money kept going to Afghanistan. My father had sent over $1 million, helped over 200 families, created a network that would continue even without his business. Other families had picked up the work, created their own channels.
He'd sacrificed everything. And he'd do it again. I learned something from my father, I told Sarah one night, after we'd helped my parents move into their new place. Something I don't know if I agree with. What's that? That guilt isn't just personal, it's collective. What my unit did, even by accident, became part of me, became part of my family, and the only way to live with it was to try to make it right. Do you think he made it right? No, you can't make that right. But he tried. He gave everything to try. Sarah was quiet. Then, do you wish he hadn't? I thought about it. About Rodriguez's phone call, about the pictures of kids in school, about widows who could feed their families, about a young man with a prosthetic leg who wanted to name his son Mitchell. No, I said finally. I just wish it hadn't cost him everything. Maybe that was the only way it could mean something. 3 years after I came home, my father had a stroke. Severe. He survived, but the damage was extensive. Speech was difficult, movement limited. The doctors said he'd need constant care. We couldn't afford the kind of facility he needed. The bankruptcy had destroyed their savings. Insurance covered some, but not enough. I was trying to figure out how to manage it when I got an email from Hamid in Peshawar. "We heard about Mr. Mitchell's condition. The families want to help. We are collecting money. Please send us banking information." Over the next month, money arrived. Small amounts from dozens of families in Afghanistan. $20 here, $50 there, sometimes just $5. Families that barely had enough were sending what they could. It totaled $11,000, enough for 3 months in a decent facility, enough to give us time to figure out long-term solutions. The families my father had helped were helping him back. He's still in that facility now. I visit every Sunday. His speech has improved slightly, enough that he can tell me he doesn't regret anything, that he'd do it all again. The network he built still operates. I'm part of it now. So is Sarah. So are Rodriguez and 8 other Marines from my unit who learned what my father did. We pool money every month, send it through the channels he established, help families that need it. It's not about guilt anymore. Or maybe it is, but it's guilt that's become something else. Responsibility, connection, a recognition that what we did over there, even the accidents, created obligations we can't ignore. My father lost everything, his business, his savings, his health. He gave it all to help people he'd never met, to try to fix damage his son's unit had accidentally caused. Was it worth it? He says yes. Says he sleeps better now than he did before. Says knowing those families are okay is worth more than any house or car or comfortable retirement. I believe him. But I also see him in that facility, struggling to form words, needing help with everything. See my mother working 2 jobs to cover what the family money doesn't. See Emma with student loans she shouldn't have. The families in Afghanistan are better off. 200 of them, maybe more by now. Children are in school, businesses are running, people are surviving. But my family is struggling. And I don't know if that balance is right. Don't know if one family should sacrifice everything for 200 others, no matter how noble the cause. My father thinks it is. He made his choice and stands by it. Or sits by it, in a wheelchair in a facility we can barely afford, maintained partly by donations from Afghan families who are still poor but want to help the man who helped them. I learned something from watching my father build and lose everything. Some people measure worth differently. To him, the money was never his. It was just passing through, a tool to fix something broken, and if fixing it meant breaking himself, that was acceptable. I don't know if I could do what he did. Don't know if I should admire it or be angry about it. Don't know if it makes him a saint or just someone who couldn't let go of guilt that wasn't even his to carry. But I know this. There are children in Helmand province going to school because my father decided that our accidents were his responsibility. There are widows who can feed their families. There's a young man named Rodriguez in Texas who can sleep at night now, knowing the families don't hate him. And there's a man in a facility in Sacramento who lost everything and would do it again. That has to count for something, even if I'm still figuring out what.